I am so excited to be talking today with AFE member and rock star, Misty Petrosino. Misty is with Consolidated Planning in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I thank you in advance for your time today.
Yes, glad to be here.
Every time I talk to you, I just think this gal has insight that I wish every current and prospective AFE member could hear. So we decided to do this officially today. Tell me about how long you've been with AFE now.
I believe we've been members right around 5 years
Okay.
with AFE and was interested in getting started just from the standpoint of financial literacy as a whole. We really enjoy the idea of financial education, webinars, seminars, things like that. And it really took off, I would say, during COVID is when it became even more popular and prevalent.
So when you were with AFE before COVID, so that
Mhm.
shift from on-site lunch and learn to completely virtual, how was that for you? Was it a learning curve? Was it daunting?
Yeah, there was a little bit of a learning curve, I would say, but companies were a lot more open to it, I think, than they were previously.
Sure.
It was a little more difficult earlier on to really get the time frames to go in person to places, especially with some of the clientele that we were meeting with. They had different shifts and lunches and things like that, trying to figure out the best times to do that. So the webinars became really an easier way to get more people to attend than maybe you would have in person.
Yeah. So about now in 2024, I had to think about what year it was. What percentage of your workshops are virtual versus in person, roughly?
It really depends on the company. I would say it's more of a industry thing that I've noticed, where it's
Really?
more of the healthcare field. Most of those are in person, and then some of the others tend to be more virtual, especially if they have a lot. We do ones for governments, like Mecklenburg County. We did some of those. Those were all virtual because they just have so many people. They have 5,000 or so people that this was going out to. So you were never really sure, who you were going to get, and it'd be very difficult to do that in person. So that's what I've noticed is more of the medical field tends to really like the in person when you're at nursing homes or on site to private facilities, and then the bigger corporations or the bigger government agencies really like the webinar.
Interesting. Okay. And for the most part, when you're talking 5,000 people, are they helping you manage that or populate it? Like, how are you letting folks know about the workshops and getting people to come?
That is key right from the beginning. So when I meet with an HR individual, I have a presentation that I've kind of put together that explains to them how we work and really what our role is and what their role is. And it is key from the beginning to get them involved and excited about what we're doing. So the more that they can have excitement around it too and really see the value in it, it's going to be very helpful. So they're not going to give you all of the email addresses of all their employees. So making them understand that, hey, we don't want that, we're not asking for that, but we would love your help in marketing this. So there are places that we put a lot of the stuff together as far as flyers and QR codes and different things like that to make it easy for that HR person, because I think sometimes they can see this as another daunting task in their everyday to do for their job that maybe they don't want to do. So the more you can explain to them how we're going to do all of that, we're going to give you the invites, we're going to give you the names of the workshops and the times and the dates and the Zoom links and all of those kind of things. That makes it a lot easier for them, that we just need them to put it on their intranet or put it in their newsletter. And sometimes we've had flyers and they put it in the break room with the on-site places. So the multiple ways that you can do that and send it out 2 or 3 times before the actual event is very helpful. But that HR person is key.
I know I want to pause this and tell everybody listening, if you are listening or watching this kind of in the background while you do something else, check out the timestamp or stop and rewind because Misty, what you just said is everything. We talk about it in our success guide and in our, pre-meeting checklist, but that person that we're introducing you to, that is your advocate. If you don't get them in your corner from day one, it will be exactly like you said. how are people going to even know about your wonderful workshop? You know,
Right.
so as far as establishing that relationship, do you do anything unique in terms of offering a little sample, of what your presentation might be, or like for that very first, the meet and greet that
Yes.
AFE is initiating for you? What's your number one tip, or 10 tips, I don't care, for engaging them right out of the gate?
Yeah, for me, I would say it's putting that presentation together, which I'm happy to share, that it really explains what AFE is and what the purpose is. And a lot of times, one of the questions they'll have, well, what's in this for you? Why are you doing this? You're working for AFE or you're an independent advisor. What does that mean? And so I explained to them that, hey, our goal, just the same as AFE, is financial education for as many people as possible. And then I'll show them that, hey, we do a survey at the end, and sometimes we get clients from that because they may say, I want to meet with you one on one, but we are not talking about sales. We're not talking about product. We're not talking about any of that in the workshops. And these workshops are already created by AFE, and they're welcome to peruse the site and look at some of those. I also create a survey for every single company that I meet with, where they have the choice of either they complete the survey themselves and they make all the decisions, or they can show it to their leadership team and pick the topics and decisions, make the decisions, or they can send it out to all the employees and say, let's just find out what they're interested in learning about. And so that survey will come back and we'll see that, maybe learning about credit and debt is most important, or maybe retirement savings is most important. And so we'll prioritize that way. And then I usually do them in a series. If you're trying to do a one and done seminar or webinar with someone, that's not going to work either. You've really got to get your name and have multiple times in front of them for them to start catching on, and word of mouth to catch on, like, hey, this was really great, you should attend. And the break room, water cooler, those
Yep,
talks,
yep.
it really gets people to attend to the next one. So I typically do them in a series of 3 or 4 that they kind of build on each other. And then we try to do those maybe once a quarter or twice a year, depending on what works best for the company.
Okay, awesome. That was going to be my next question in terms of, following up with the companies. Like every once in a while, we'll have an AFE member say, well, I met with the company and they seemed interested, but then I emailed them and I never heard back. And
Mhm.
you and I have talked about this.
Yes, yes. And that does happen, and I can say that's probably gonna happen a lot of times, but having some best practices around that. What I tend to do is anytime I meet with someone is go ahead and put a follow-up meeting on the calendar, so it's out in the future. And, they may continue to reschedule that or cancel that or whatever, but at least it's still on the calendar. It makes it easier to get back in the door and have that communication continue to go, because they're gonna have that calendar meeting pop up.
So
So
wait, let
anytime
me
I'm
clarify. When you're meeting with them the first time, you say, go ahead and schedule a follow-up so you can maybe
Yes.
review what the info I've given you and I can answer any questions. Is that kind of
Correct.
okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So go
I
ahead and
love that.
carrying into the future,
Yeah.
putting those on the calendar. And so I'll have some now. I have some on there now that are 2, 3 months out from now. They'll say, we're really busy doing XYZ, but we're gonna, maybe look at this again in June. Great. I'm gonna put this time on the calendar in June and we'll revisit. And sometimes they may even have forgotten about it. They think that's off their plate for now. And so then you're there just to, sometimes they'll get on the call and they like, I don't remember what this is about. And so you
Right.
just kind of reintroduce it again. But having that slot on their calendar is really, really important. So the more you can pre-schedule those things in each meeting that you have, go ahead and schedule the next one. It's very
Love
helpful.
it. That is brilliant. And, so I love talking to somebody who's been with us for so long, because you're saying things that I tell folks, again, right out of the gate. Like a lot of times people will say, well, can I try 1 month and see how it goes? And I tell them you can, because you're never locked into our marketing.
Right.
But 1 month, it can be in all likelihood a year before you're seeing the ROI on that month, right? Exactly like you said. We're super busy right now, but we want to pick this up in May. In May, you decide to schedule the first workshop in June. In June, you arrange the next one in August, right? And maybe it's your November workshop that people start thinking, like you said earlier, hey, I really like this gal. I like what she's saying. I feel like she has integrity. She knows her stuff. She's somebody that I trust and may want to give my passwords to,
Right.
So it's not, this is what we tell everyone. It's not quick leads, and you can speak to that. It's
Mhm.
building your relationship, building your pipeline or your drip list or whatever you call it, getting that exposure, building those relationships. And then, we always tell folks minimum of 5, 6 months is kind of the mental commitment. We encourage, again, that may not be in your budget, and we'll do the best with what we can, but that tends to be, and tell me if your experience was different, please, kind of the tipping point as far as seeing some traction. Maybe not clients yet, even, but
Yes, yes.
getting the one-on-ones, getting the second and third workshops under your belt, kind of build, seeing the potential for those relationships to grow.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I would, for financial advisors, I would relate this to if you're working with individuals and families versus working with businesses and business owners. Working with a business owner, it can take you 6 months, a year, or two or three to get all the decision makers in the right place and make those decisions to move forward with whatever it is you're trying to implement. Whereas with families, sometimes you meet with them and they make a decision right away. I would relate AFE the same way. This is something where you're planting seeds that are going to grow later, so you're working with these folks, you're meeting with them, and you just make this a part of your process. I do not think AFE should be your only process for getting clients because you'll starve. But if you use this,
At the beginning, at the
yes, yes,
beginning.
you will starve if it's your only method as a
Right,
new advisor in the business. But if you make this part of your process and you learn and you get better and you get a name out there and people start recommending you, referring you,
right,
it gets easier and easier, and your process becomes a little more turnkey where you know exactly the meeting you're going to have with the HR person, you know what you're going to propose, you know how you're going to send the survey. All of those parts get a lot easier because you're just duplicating and you're just changing names and dates and times of when the seminars or webinars are. So I think you have to really be consistent and persistent is what I would say in working with AFE, and it's a long term marathon, not a sprint. This is something that's a long term part of your advisory practice. And if you want to do financial education, it's not going to be a one and done. It's not going to be 1 month here and 1 month next year. It's got to be something that's in your process, one part of every week, of every month, of every year in
right.
order to make it work.
Right. Okay. Your tips are so good. I mean, I feel like you've already even preempted all my questions. I mean, if you had to, I think you've already given them. So if it can be persistent and consistent,
Mhm.
relentless with your follow-up, one key for success with this program, realistic expectation. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm trying to,
Yes.
what for you, what would you
Sure.
say? Like if you were hiring a new junior advisor tomorrow under you and you said, okay, I'm bringing you into the AFE fold, how would you try to help them be most successful?
Yeah, I would say first is realistic expectations is very good. You're maybe not going to get a client out of every single workshop you have. And a lot of that again comes with being in front of the same people multiple times. They're not going to just build trust and rapport with you because you spoke on a Zoom for 30 minutes. You have to work those relationships over time. And the key to that, I think, is having a follow-up survey after every single webinar or seminar you do that says, did you like the content? Did you learn anything? What was your biggest takeaway? What would you like to hear more of? And then would you like to have a one-on-one meeting? And that gives you that opportunity, continuing to put that out there where they say, you know what you talked about today made sense. It's timing is everything in this business. And if they're at that point in their life or career or whatever that they need to talk about those things, they're going to set up that one-on-one. And that's how you get clients. 100% that's how you get clients,
Right.
is by having that survey and follow-up piece that invites them to ask to meet. So I think that's a number one best practice is to do that. And I think also to come at this with just really a pro bono mind, like a giving heart of we want education out there. At the same time, you can help build your brand, respect. Not only that is you can practice your speaking in front of people. You can practice the knowledge that you have. And what I love about AFE the most is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I see so many people that want to do financial education and they're trying to create all these presentations and a pathway and all of those things. And even if it's not a lead that comes from AFE, if it's maybe it's a 401k client that you sold and you say, hey, I would like to do financial education for your employees, and we partner with AFE, and here's what we have, and you're able to show that robust amount of information and material. It's very very helpful, and it really gives you a lot of support and backing to be able to do that and not try to spend your time reinventing the wheel when, as an advisor, that's probably not your strong skill set.
Right, right. Excellent. Okay, I couldn't have asked you to say anything better. You can decline this request, but you and I have been talking about a project that you're working on. Is that something you want to share with any potential AFE folks?
Sure, I would be happy to. So, I myself have been an advisor for 27 years. I started when I was 23, and I just think it's funny to know that people tell you to do different things, and what everyone else is doing is not always what's right for you. When I was 23, everyone told me to go to the chamber, and when I went, it was all 55-year-old men there that I didn't get along with. I didn't relate to. It just didn't make sense for me. So, I found something that made sense for me, which was joining a pool league with the Fraternal Order of Police. I love to shoot pool. I wanted to work with district attorneys, police officers, things like that. So that became a target market for me. And from that, learning, the skills that you have and the unique abilities you have and how you can relate to other people makes it a lot more fun in this business to do that. And the Wildman Center, for those of you who may or may not have heard of Richard Wildman, he's a legend in our industry. He's written a couple books, has another one that's coming out, best-selling books. It's all about that target market, finding out what works for you. Who do you relate with as an advisor? Who do you want to help? What's your mission? What's your why? And who wants to work with you as well? And that's what it's all about. It's an online training platform. And I recently just purchased that. Mr. Wallman is 75. He's still out there coaching and consulting and speaking. But his online training platform, I purchased that because I believe in it so much. I believe in target marketing and finding the prospects that you really want to help and digging in to do that instead of trying to be everything to everyone. And that's part of what AFE, I think, can be a great resource to help those folks who are finding those target markets. Is now, if you want to work with engineers, then we can find those companies that have employees that want financial education, and we can use that to take this platform into those different employers. And I just think it's a great combination to be able to have those resources for financial education, again, not reinventing the wheel,
Right.
and then being able to apply what you've now learned and research with target markets and knowing exactly who it is you want to work with, who you want to help, and then us giving you the resources of how to help them once you've figured out, who that is. So us partnering together, I think, is a no-brainer,
Yep.
and it makes the life of the advisor a little easier.
Yep. So we are kind of in the midst of trying to work out what AFE and Wildman's partnership is going to look like.
Mhm.
Eventually, that will be on our website, so any of our members can access that info. In the meantime, if they just want to learn more about Wildman,
Yeah, it's wildmancenter.com, www.wildman, Weylman, wildmancenter.com. We could pop that up on the video too. And they can check it out and get an idea of what the Wildman Center is all about as far as helping advisors build their practice. The idea is to teach you how to fish, not to give you fish. We want you to be able to learn how to find prospects and how to find the people that you actually want to work with in your practice.
right, that you actually want to work with. That is all right. Misty Petrosino, you are a lovely lady, a rock star. We're so lucky to have you at AFE, and I really, really appreciate your time and insight today.
Thank you so much. Enjoy it.
Okay, thank you, and we'll talk soon.